Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to convert and how to set this up so that we are going to convert from one unit to another. So if I want to switch from one unit to another, I have to know the relationship, whether it's 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, or a dozen equals 12, or there's 100 centimeters in a meter. Okay, so another thing to think about is, should my answer be getting bigger or smaller? Should I have more centimeters or should I have more inches? So if I'm going from a big unit to a small unit, like dollars to quarters, I should be getting more of them. If you went to the bank, you'd want more quarters than you had dollars. If I'm going from a small unit to a large unit, I'm turning my quarters in to get dollars, I'm going to expect to get fewer dollars than I do quarters. So we're going to need to figure out how to set these up. We do need to show the math and watch our units and sig figs and everything on here. So here's your two options. First option is to use ratios. So you're going to write down what was given, like $7 or 42 quarters. We're going to put an X on the bottom number, like X dollars. We're going to put the standard of the old unit on top and the standard of the new unit on top. Then we'll cross multiply to solve for X. We want to look at original measurement for sig figs if it's been measured like 3.2 feet or 5.7 miles. However, if it's something that we know is going to be a whole number like quarters, then you can just round it accordingly. Okay, our second option is to use the factor label method where we write our number and use a relationship, but we set it up opposite. We are starting measurement like feet, and then we put inches over feet, that there's 12 inches over 1 foot, or there's 5,280 feet in a mile. And what we want to be able to do on these is to cancel out our unit so that what's on top and what's bottom will cancel out, leaving you with the new units that you would like to have. Okay, so I'm going to show you this both ways, and it's your choice on which one that you would like to do here. Sorry, this always turns weird. Okay, so my first one, I'm going to switch 3.3 days to hours. So I need to think about on here what I want to use here. Okay, so I know first that a day is bigger than an hour. Might help if I hit the pin. So I'm going from days to hours. So I'm going to a smaller unit, which means that I should have more. There should be more hours than I had days. I know that for every 1 day, there are 24 hours, and that's what I'm going to use to convert either method that I choose to do on here. Okay, so my first method, I know 3.3 days, and I want to get it into hours. So I'm going to start out with 3.3 days. And I'm going to use that relationship we just said. 1 day is 24 hours. So I'm going to put 1 day on top because if I'm doing this correctly, my unit should match. Okay, so see how hours and hours are lined up and days are lined up. That's our goal. That's what we want to have happen here. So I'm going to put that in my calculator. I'm going to take 3 times 24 and multiply it by 1 times x. We know we don't really need to do the 1 times x and divide by 1 because it's not going to change my answer, but it wouldn't hurt anything if you did it. Okay, so on this one, 3.3 days, I have 2 sig figs in here, so I'm only allowed to give me 2. So once I took 3.3 times 24, I'm going to get an answer of 79.2 on here, and that is going to be my hours, but I'm going to round this to approximately 79 hours. It's about 79 hours. Now, if I would have had more numbers, I could keep more on here. Just be reasonable in your answers. If I do it the other method, I'm going to use the same info. I'm just going to set it up differently, and again, this is just preference. So I want hours, so I'm going to put 24 hours on top and 1 day on bottom. These should cancel out if I did this correctly. Same thing in my calculator. I'm going to take 3.3 times 24, so I'm going to multiply on top, divide on bottom, and that's going to give me an answer of 79.2 hours, but same thing, I'd want to round this to 79 hours. So 2 different ways to show it. Both are accepted. The method 2 is a little more traditional. Method 1, a lot of people are better at, so your choice, whichever one you prefer here. Okay, so in our next one, I'm going to use that I have 54.3 centimeters, and I know here that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So I'm going to write that down. And I know my number of centimeters should be more because a centimeter is small, so an inch is bigger. Think about your ruler. Centimeter is smaller. Okay, so I'm going to, on here, first try out with ratios. So I have 54.3 centimeters. Got to figure out how to hide that. It didn't used to do that. Okay, so I have 54.3 centimeters. And then I am going to inches on here. Okay, so I should have more centimeters than inches. I probably should have written this the other way on here. So I know that my answer should be smaller on this. Okay, so I'm going to set this up over x inches. And I know 2.54 centimeters is in 1 inch. Okay, so this time on my calculator, I am going to have to divide because it is with the x. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to multiply in here. Now, usually one of these will have a 1 in it unless they're like kind of combined two conversion factors into one. So I don't really need to do that. So I'm going to take 54.3 times 1. And then I'm going to divide this by 2.54. I just look at my original answer that it is 54.33 sig figs. So I get a really long decimal. It's 21.3779526. So I can keep 3. So I'm going to round this to 21.4 inches. Whoops, I should have put that back on pen. Okay, so inches have to be less, right? Think about your ruler, they're smaller. Option number 2, I would write this as 54.3 centimeters. Multiply this by 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters. Still doing the same thing in my calculator, still rounding the same 21.4 inches. Okay, so whoop, autocorrect. This should say with ratios. Sorry about that. You should look at the conversion factor if you don't know it and figure out that for every statement you want to line up the units so that they match up and cross multiply. Your answer should have the same number of sig figs if it's a measurement. If it's something like money or counting objects, write what's appropriate, like the number of quarters. You couldn't get half a quarter on here. With factor label, make sure units cancel out, multiply across the top, divider at the bottom, and again round to sig figs. Okay, so we'll practice this more next time, but I just wanted you to watch the video so you've seen this before when you come in. Your textbook, if you look up either of those, is going to show you how to do it with factor label, but if you like ratios, use it, whatever works for you. Okay, thanks, and we'll try this more next time.